Welcome to this emergency episode of the TCV HAPPIER Podcast. I'm skipping the intro and we are diving right in. For those who don't know, TCV HAPPIER stands for High Achievers Podcast for Pollyanna-ish individuals and entrepreneurs. That's irrelevant at the moment when people don't have food on their tables. Uh, and this is part of a big discussion we were having is how can we facilitate people losing their SNAP benefits and also meanwhile there is a possibility that not just possibility, it's already happening that their healthcare premiums are being tripled or quadrupled even, in some cases. And so we are not beating around the bushes in this episode. We're not giving an intro, there's no soundtrack. This is a real discussion we were having about managing the crisis. So there might be a clinking of bowls or something, because we're having discussion and we're eating and we're planning to organize something, and we're also coming up with quick, easy, and affordable recipes, so most probably it will be in the downloads, or if it's not there, check in the download would be in the description or in the comments in the next day or so, next couple of days. And yeah, without further ado, just let's dive in, and it starts with my co-host Jen Sykes sharing that how we shouldn't be disappointed. It's an opportunity, and if we actually deal with this crisis properly, we can get the best out of the resources that are at our disposal. But she also starts by sharing how there is a deliberate attempt to inflict pain. It's not just that the subsidies are cut, the benefits are cut, but the whole system is taken down. And she also went around and got the receipts to prove it. So I don't know if we'll add it in the video, but we'll show it on our Instagram or something. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So you were saying that we need to tell people that they need not be discouraged.
They need not be fatalistic,
Mm-hmm.
but is the approach of being traumatized last minute, that's not the words, but is the approach of being told something you might have predicted last minute when it is an emergency
Mm-hmm.
really the best way? I mean, we should consider that the way they've done it, they've turned it off. They haven't just not sent it, they've turned it off.
Yes.
Our states are trying to supplement, other agencies are trying to supplement, and they are literally shutting off the system.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't just not send water. They shut off the mains that lead to your house.
They didn't just shut it off. They literally broke the pipeline, right? They just closed.
Well, they didn't break it, but they shut it off. They flipped the switch on the computer, which means it required no fucking effort.
Right.
It wasn't like they did something to say because the system is dead. Oh, we're not paying people. It worked on automatic.
Right.
And they changed something that was an automatic to say, even if your local people help you, they can't help you.
Right.
Because we're cutting this system off.
Right. So they didn't just not pay the SNAP benefits. They shut down the whole servers and whole machines, the whole system. Where even if the state wanted to sponsor
which
it,
some have,
the state wanted to pay for the benefits, they can't because your SNAP card won't work at all.
And the court already ordered Trump to pay what was in the reserves, and his response was to cut off the way to pay the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
So he literally totally he's in contempt of court.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I think
I'm
three
not
different
saying he
judges
won't.
said that.
What?
Three different judges ordered the federal government, Trump's administration, to
Right. And he
use
not
those
only didn't
funds.
release it, and that's the only order. So not only he's only culpable for defying their orders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's culpable for defying the orders, but he's immune
Mm-hmm.
for defying the orders to release the funds. But
Mm-hmm.
he's not culpable for the fact that he then also cut off all other ways for you to receive the
Mm-hmm.
funds.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Right.
he did that too. And meanwhile, having people come plead that he's a caring, loving president. He cares so much that you get this. So that's what he's doing, is he's literally coercing. It's literally coercive abuse.
Mm-hmm. What he's doing is unconstitutional, saying that, yeah, people who voted for me, he's not even taking care of people who voted for him, right? But he's also,
Because a lot of them are on Snap.
yeah, there are more Republicans on Snap than Democrats,
Greater numbers, yes.
right? But what he's saying is, and see, they are so happy. They're like, oh, it's okay. We'll starve, but we'll let these liberals, starve with us,
I know.
right? The hatred is so fucking
It's so deep.
out of control and outrageous and deep.
Yep. Um, so the thing is just,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying let's be fatalistic
Mm-hmm.
towards December. I'm just saying let's plan ourselves out of desperation,
Right.
because desperation is never a good place from which to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So let's plan ourselves out of desperation. Let's use what is there, and also let's, use it to the wisest ability.
Right. So what you're saying is that this November situation doesn't repeat where we are taken by surprise. We should also anticipate that Snap might not be online in December.
Right. And if people are giving to us, how do we take what we're being given?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are people making movements. How do we take what we're being given and make the best use of it?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if you're giving, how do you make sure that your giving is the most effective?
Mm-hmm.
For instance,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at, there's a group of people that are wanting to give in Villa Rica. I don't know if I'll follow through on it or not, because I'm gonna let them know, like, I can't carry this shit.
Mm-hmm.
This can't be my cross, because I have 2 crosses right now. But I'm willing to be the person who says, okay, let's do this. Here's a way to do it. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to initiate it. I already sent out a text I already sent out a message that said, if you live in Fairfield and you're on Snap, send me your information. If you live in Fairfield and you know a person who's on Snap, or who doesn't qualify for Snap,
Mm-hmm.
Then send me this. And none of you have. So here's the thing, I'm offering, because I'm experienced in this, and I'm not going to fight to do it, but I'm offering to do it. And that is to say, for instance, if you're not able to load something to a card, then you can't do it once a month.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to do it at least twice a month, because in 2 weeks, milk goes bad.
Mm-hmm.
About a week and a half, milk goes bad.
Mm-hmm.
About a week and a half, vegetables go bad.
Right.
So you'd have to do it every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I planned on doing it twice in November, and we could do it twice in December, but you guys have to participate. I can't do it all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they actually were the ones to say, would some family be willing to do? But you literally said, hey, I have a feeling, could somebody else do it? And I said, "Oh, I'd be glad to lead that. But I can't do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be glad to administrate that."
Mm. Right. By the way, I hit recording, so we don't forget these points. Not gonna upload it, but we
Right.
have these points.
Right. So yeah, um, there are things like you can give things which are staples. In my opinion, at this point, I want the name and number of every. I don't want to do a blind thing. I want to do something where I contact each person and ask them what they need. If it's not that, if it's something more big and I can't do that where I contact each person, then as they come up, I'm going to ask them, what do you need? If you don't need this, do you have someone you can give it to? Because if not, don't take it.
Mm-hmm.
That way we can give it to somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what they need, because that way our people who are donating can know what to give. I'm making it clear to people who give that, for instance, if you give cereal, give an $8 gift card for milk
Mm-hmm.
and give a bowl and a spoon, or
Mm-hmm.
give a set of bowls and spoons, right? From the grocery store, not super expensive. Just give a set of spoons from the grocery store and a set of the plastic bowls from the grocery store, and give your box or two of cereal, right? That's fine. But just don't consider a box of cornbread to be a complete thing, because it doesn't have a pan and it doesn't have the milk and doesn't have a way to make it. So you have to consider that people don't have these things that you're considering. Oh, well, everybody has that in their refrigerator. No, they don't. And so then we are asking people, when people are getting ready to come, before they come, we're saying, hey, do you have a kitchen with dishes? Do you have a can opener and stuff, right? So then they're only given the packs that they need. We're not giving away unnecessary things to people who don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also not giving people things they can't use because they don't have the supplies.
Mm-hmm. If you don't want to give supplies, then make a few sandwiches every day.
That's the other thing, is that another way, which I've done, and I've done that like on the way to school, is to connect with somebody and give them pre-made, right? So that's the thing, is like, if you want to give a pre-made meal,
Right.
then please give a trustworthy pre-made meal
Mm-hmm.
in a pan that can be, one of those temporary pans, those disposable pans, right, that can be cooked or heated up.
Mm-hmm.
And we will ask if they have a way to do that. And if not, the church can cook it up for them and they can pick it up. They can wait an hour and take it home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once they take it home, they can wrap it up. It'll last 2 days.
Right.
All they got to do is microwave it. It won't go bad
Right.
in 2 days.
Right. Just simple things like sandwich, with butter, with cheese, with
Sandwiches,
veggies.
casseroles, all those things will
Right, like
last for 2
pasta.
days.
Right, like pasta of some sort into the bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, milk and things, they require a refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone doesn't have a refrigerator,
Mm-hmm.
don't give them a gallon of milk. Give them a milk carton for each kid and tell them to drink it on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
Say, hey, drink this now. Be full tummy now.
Mm-hmm.
While it's cold.
Right.
So a few practical details that are often overlooked is all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And it takes a little extra effort, but it doesn't take extra labor. It just takes extra thought.
And I think if you're going to do all of that, and if you don't nail that one detail, all of that is more or less wasted, because people can't use it, right?
Right. So you waste. Right. So that's what I'm saying, is hey, if we're giving you something and you can't use it, don't take it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give it to someone else when there's nothing left and they come and we're like, we don't have any boxes left, but we have this.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So.
Or let's say,
Mhm.
you can have different things, right? You can have pasta sauce and a packet of pasta. And if you can't cook it, then don't take the packet, take the cooked pasta box.
And then we package it separately.
Mm-hmm.
The sauce and the pasta separately.
Exactly.
And then that's the thing where the idea of the recipes that I was talking about, which they're not complicated recipes. What they are is they're poor people food.
Mm-hmm.
And poor people food has been centuries, generations, millennia,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some of this stuff like adding just butter and spices to your pasta as you cook it in a pan,
Mm-hmm.
that's millennia old. And
Or like,
if someone's donating spices and pasta,
mm-hmm.
and we have cooked pasta and we have uncooked pasta. If you have cooked pasta, all you have to do is heat it up enough to add the butter and the spices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we can send it to you like that, and you can just microwave it on low
Mm-hmm.
at any Love's gas station. They're a truck stop gas station.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of gas stations you can't. But the Love's gas stations you can. But also that no. Just like the way I taught Alex to make the peanut butter pasta the other day. Right? And they're like, what? But having a little bit of peanut butter
Mm-hmm.
to a Thai pasta is really good. So, learning to just take a little bowl or ramekin or whatever, a little cup, and stir in a little bit of Hossein if you have it, but just soy and peanut butter, and yes, garlic because you don't have a lot of different options.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, like you can get some of these from the store, but you could also, some of these are packets from the store. I mean, packets from the restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're at a college, you can grab Parmesan. If your friends ordered a pizza, you can get a couple packets of Parmesan and Italian spice and what's the other one? The Italian spice. Oh, and these chiles,
Oregano
these
and chili flakes.
chili flakes. Right. That's all it takes with a pat of butter and pasta to make something flavorful and filling.
Right. You
And
have ketchup and
do we, yes, want exactly what we want? Yes. But can we flex to what we have and what we need? Yes.
mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they have like a Parmesan garlic sauce sometimes for the salads. And you can use that same thing to cook up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Italian spice and the chile spice. And then you just add that to the pan and get the as soon as you get the cooked pasta in. Now, when you're dealing with rice, right, you actually put the spice in and toast it in the pan. And here's the thing that's crazy. I don't know why. It multiplies the satisfaction, the
Mm-hmm.
fillingness
Mm-hmm.
of the rice
Mm-hmm.
when you toast it until it smells like popcorn.
Of course.
I don't know why, but it does.
It does because it has all these surface starch that caramelizes. So that's why the fried rice tastes so much more better than just cooked rice.
Okay, so and maybe is digested over.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it requires a greater length of digestion. Because one thing I learned was there were certain things I would give my children because they would take longer to digest.
Mm-hmm.
Who would purposely give their kids something longer to digest? Somebody who needs their kid to feel full.
Mm-hmm.
That's who. Right? So, we usually make things easier to digest to get all the nutrients out of it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
mung beans are the whole point of blooming them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is to make sure you get more nutrients out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still not going to counteract this. But I'm just saying, when you make things a little complex,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that takes longer to digest. Like a broth, the body is going to soak it up like liquid and you're going to wake up hungry.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to have something complex with vegetables and heavy beans and things like that about
Mm-hmm.
an hour before bed, and then right before bed you were to have a cup of broth,
Mm-hmm.
you would feel so full but not have gastric issues because the broth is going to be fine,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you would feel so full and warm, and then that would just keep you digesting. And then the fact that you have things like garbanzos or other things that are more complex and require digestion,
Mm-hmm.
same as if in the morning you give just oatmeal, it's going to almost keep you tired.
Right.
But if you give oatmeal, which requires digestion and keeps you full, and gives a slow release, a time release effect to its energy, but then also add a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
swirled in preserves or fruit or things like that,
Right.
butter, then of course, and that's your choice. You can go sweet or you can go savory, but that's your choice. And then that means you have immediate energy and you have longer energy.
Right. So I created this recipe card, which you can use. It's a template you can use very easily to write down these things. It's simple. It's just like this. And we can even collaborate. And all you have to do is duplicate it.
Yeah, and I have at least 8 already ready.
Right. So I'm creating like 18 pages, but we can always create more pages.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make it 20. So you can just put an image there if you have anything, or something identical from the input.
I probably do.
Mm.
Yeah. For a lot of them, I know I do.
Right. And sometimes like what I make, like just take a bread butter, put a lot of sugar in between. It's very good.
Especially add a little cinnamon or something to set off that gastric fire, but it also sets off the energy fire.
Right. So add
So
a
that you're more energetic as you start your school morning, because a
right.
lot of kids are in school right now.
Right. So I mean, it's basically what is sugar? It's basically like a jam without the flavor.
Right.
Right.
Right. The thing is, people vilify sugar, and sugar itself is not negative. It's whether you have the body capacity to normally process sugar. And that doesn't come from sugar. That comes from stress levels or from hyper servings of
No,
high
but
fructose corn syrup and processed foods.
right. What I'm saying is, if you don't have SNAP, if you are struggling, you don't
That is not going
understand
to
that
harm you. Exactly.
the
In fact,
number
it would
of
be better. In
right.
fact, it would be better if the sugar came with a little butter
Mm-hmm.
to deliver it,
Right.
right? Because that's what I'm saying is I am a person who I eat very healthy,
Right.
but I am not a person who has come from I've been there
And
where I could eat exactly what I wanted. Now, in fact, I was a ballet dancer and I had to eat to keep lean, which is counterintuitive to, SNAP, but no one wants to also be unhealthily fat.
right.
But the thing is, you're not doing that. That is not what fat and sugar does.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is,
It's
you take
important to make that clear.
right, you take a piece of bread, you have butter on it, so that's your long lasting thing, right? Your, what do you call that, slow release
Well,
of
I like
energy.
to do what's called sugar toast. So I like to literally toast a piece of bread, put a pat of butter on it, and sprinkle with cinnamon and sugar.
Right. And so what I'm saying is,
Sounds like your perfect meal.
this is simpler. Imagine someone's living in their car. They can get a bread, they can get a butter. If we are giving them, they can get a butter knife.
Yeah,
They can use their snap card, since now it's not useful for at the moment, and
right. Just
spread the
spread. They can
butter,
use the snap card to spread the butter.
right? and
Yeah,
and sprinkle sugar on it, because that sugar, you see, if you a lot of these people are also doing manual labor, they need that instant release of energy, of that carbohydrate that
absolutely.
comes from the direct cane sugar. I'm not saying fructose sugar, because cane sugar has the
It's
glucose
different.
and the fructose molecules bound together, unlike high fructose corn
That
syrup.
doesn't make one evil and one good. What that does is means just know one is slower release, which is better, and one is it's an instant release and then it's gone.
Right,
So
but
you've got to feed the fructose. You've got to feed with carbohydrates after, otherwise it doesn't
no, but
last. That's all. That's all.
fructose also goes around destroying the liver and causes fatty liver and things which
Mm,
cane sugar
ah,
won't do,
right.
because these molecules are bound
Well,
together.
and that's why in Mexico the Coca-Colas are made with pure cane sugar. They
Right,
they refuse to use fructose corn syrup in their
right,
Coca-Colas.
right. So what I was saying is, so you have bread, your butter, your sugar. You ate one or two, if you can, afford two sandwiches. They don't cost a lot, but I guarantee you will be able to do your electrician work or plumbing work, and you will not be exhausted, and your body has enough to recuperate and enough to rebuild that muscles. Why? Because now the proteins get from the bread, from the grain. Your body doesn't have to turn that protein into glucose, because you're adding extra glucose that your body can metabolize, while that protein could be used as protein to rebuild your muscles.
Right, and if because in the United States, a lot of breads have been turned to they don't have the same grain with the protein, um, then the option is to add like a peanut butter, a cashew butter, any
Hmm.
of those, which if WIC were available, if SNAP were available, you would be able to get, but also which are commonly at our food banks. So sometimes people see these things. It's like people give us this stuff at the food bank and these things aren't healthy. Yes, they are healthy. You need to know how to use them.
Right,
Yes, it is wonderful to make a lettuce wrap with the chopped cashews and all that is a wonderful thing.
right.
But in practicality, these things that have been vilified
But that,
in our news media are
exactly,
not bad for you.
exactly,
They are misused.
right. I
They're
worked
misused.
on
They're not bad for you.
Right, I worked on the production floor, right? That lettuce wrap
Right.
won't do shit for you.
No,
In 2 months
no.
you'll have,
Your
you'll have
bones will
anemia
be
and your
bare.
bones will
You'll
be
have skin
brittle,
hanging on bones.
right? You'll have,
You know.
right. So that's, it depends upon the work you're doing. If you're just sitting on a computer, just eat raw bread, you'll be fine. But if you're working out there, and you are
Yeah,
gardening, or you're
very much
picking
so.
things in the field, or you're doing plumbing work, or you're doing electrician work, or on a ladder, doing something, you need more carbs, because you're using those carbs constantly.
Mhm. Absolutely so. And it's something that happens in the schools in the morning. And the one problem, though, is okay, this happened in the United States in, I think, the 1950s, maybe the 1960s, but I think the 1950s, so post World War era. Um, because, we had these factories that were all set up and they had shifted from producing food and sugar to producing what was necessary for weapons. And apparently, a byproduct of that, for instance, was saccharin. But otherwise byproducts, right? Basically, it was really easy to set up canned and processed goods. And thusly, as we came back from the world wars, the diet took a detriment. And one thing we also bought into was the idea that cereal, Kellogg's, for breakfast was the healthiest thing. So, it's not an unhealthy food, but it is a big thing of setting off your glycemic index in the morning is what it is. If it's by itself, that's why when they advertised it with, peanut butter toast plus, fruit plus cereal plus a glass of milk plus a glass of orange juice.
Banana.
That was a healthy breakfast. At a time when the alternative healthy breakfast was bacon and eggs and, so the thing is that it was very, very high, not in sugar, but in what the sugar it provoked the body to produce.
Right. But also
that was not a thing. Previously, what happened was you took some of the leftover scraps from dinner and you recooked them up. And you put them in a piece of bread or tortilla, depending on where you were, right? And that was your breakfast.
But what I'm trying to say right now is all the things that tell you are unhealthy are very healthy if you eat them in moderation. And right now, the situation that's created is sacred would do good
And
to
it's
you.
taking us back to that time when we knew exactly what to do. And like I said, taking the dinner from last night that was heavy.
Right.
But scraps of it, not the whole thing, the scraps of it. Not that would put you to sleep, the scraps of it. And then putting that in a bit of carbohydrate like a tortilla or a piece of bread, that is a great start to the morning.
Right.
And that's what we think of as like, oh, that's outrageous. Like, that's so heavy. No, it's not. You're taking a little bit of heavy and you're putting it in a carbohydrate.
Right. Take last night's lasagna and eat an apple with it and eat a cup of coffee. You'll be fine.
That's exactly. And then the French, right? Like, so take the yogurt, add the nuts, add the fruit. And what are you doing? You're adding protein.
Add the honey.
Protein and a little sugar and a little fruit to a little dairy. So the nuts are like the protein of last night, right? And then the fruit and the honey are the sugar and then the fresh fiber. And then adding that to the dairy, which in its more raw and natural form is the probiotic, right? When it hasn't been processed to death. So yeah, definitely those are the options to eat much more healthy.
Right. So what we have discussed now, is actually good because it acts as the preface for the book, the introduction chapters for the book, for the PDF, and it will set the background for the recipes we'll write down. And I think
right, and I've actually on compulsion, I've written down at least I think 6 or 8 recipes.
Good.
So yeah, so I just compulsion because as soon as this even happened, I, having been through fear of my children going hungry myself, I felt compelled. So
nice.
Yeah.
So
we can put this together into something that's giveable. And the other thing is just to, okay, how do I manage what I do receive? If I receive things, how do I manage that? And I've watched a woman named Hope, who was given a whole bunch of produce and she's cooking it into soups and she's turning it into broth. And one of the things I do is tell people how to take their scraps. Okay, you're cooking this. Take all those scraps and make it into a stock, right? Right. So that nothing is going to waste, because now even if you just cook up beans or rice or whatever, then it has that much more nutrition in it. Can you imagine you're cooking a cup of rice? Okay, now can you imagine you're cooking a cup of rice with about 4 cups of vegetables that have been cooked down into the water you're using to cook
Well,
the rice,
that's how we do in India anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, I
And
learned a few things. I
and
learned a few things.
like, and also what I was saying is, like, the simple things I make. If you have milk is useless, uh, unless you, to some people, it's difficult to digest, but you just add a little bit of coffee in it and sugars in it, it
Right.
becomes immediately more energizing.
Yes.
you
Very
know
much
so
so.
don't drink your coffee black, add milk into it.
Or I don't care. I get that calcium absorption is reduced when people drink chocolate in their milk. It, for some reason, prevents some of the absorption of calcium. But that's not like it like cancels it out,
Mm-hmm.
number one. So if your kid wants Ovaltine, which by the way, I'll show the difference in that. That's one of the things I already saved because I was planning on making this post. Showing what it is that like Ovaltine adds is 30% of your daily calcium. It's 15% of your daily iron, right? It's got a lot of nutrients in it that you need. And so just adding that to your milk is a great way. And it's like chocolate milk. And now I do this. I do 3 scoops of Ovaltine.
Mm-hmm.
So like, a glass, what you would normally do for a full glass of Ovaltine. I mean, a full glass, like we're talking like 12 ounces or more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do one little swirl of chocolate syrup.
Mm-hmm.
So not a whole bunch of chocolate syrup. We're doing a swirl to give
Right.
it that right
And
tastiness.
also, right, and also you're using chocolate like coffee. You're adding it for flavor. It's
A
not like you're
taste.
drinking a whole glass of hot chocolate. You're not you're not
Exactly.
taking dark chocolate bars and melting them.
Right, exactly. And then let's see. So doing it with the Ovaltine and the milk, and then the other thing was that I would use a protein shake, and a protein shake can be expensive to buy. But when I get like a wheat protein
Mm-hmm.
and I add the protein, say, to banana and to milk and to any chilled fruit I want, I can go chocolate or I can go banana, even flavored protein. And that just lets me flex where I can add blueberries. I can add so many different strawberries, whatever you like. But you have to find what you like. So just be cautious on that. Like, don't waste the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, it's very, very powerful. And I used it myself where my child had ADHD. They're autistic and they have ADHD and they have a few processing issues. And so I would add a
Right.
splash of coffee to that. And that coffee actually acted in lieu of their medication because the medication was technically a methamphetamine.
Mm-hmm.
When I sent them to school on coffee, the teachers were like, they're doing great.
Mm-hmm.
So I would give them half of their coffee in the morning and I would send the second half and tell the teachers to put it in the fridge
Mm-hmm.
and give it to them after
Mm-hmm.
lunch.
Mm-hmm. And I think, what we also, as we're doing this book, we need people to know that what is carb, what is fats, and what is protein. What are the macros
I
and
mean,
micros.
okay, I'm just going to interrupt because we vilify carbs and I'm laughing because it says that carbs are bad. That means all vegetables are bad, like inherently, because vegetables are complex carbohydrates.
Right.
The verbiage is what I'm saying.
Right. It's
Is
deliberately
the
misleading.
verbiage is just nonsense.
It's
And so forget that.
right.
They're trying to say quit eating more processed foods than you are real foods. That's what they're trying to say, but they don't say
Exactly.
that because, in all honesty, because they think you're stupid.
Right.
They think you can't comprehend that, so they label this as carbs
And
and
also,
this is
right. And also they are playing plausible deniability. Like, oh, we never said that. We said eat your veggies. Why are you not eating your veggies? Meanwhile, phrasing it like that you shouldn't eat more veggies, you shouldn't eat more wheat, you shouldn't eat more corn, you shouldn't eat more grains. What they're saying is
those are
don't eat
carbs.
the ultra
Because those are carbs.
Right, they're saying ultra processed carbs. Don't eat Cheetos for dinner.
Thank you. Exactly.
Right? Eat it as a snack, eat it as an indulgence, don't eat it as your dinner. And because the problems are overconsumption. But when you don't have enough, you need carbs. So carbs are the energy, it's like the gas in your car. The fats are important to keep things working, which is much like the lubricant you have to keep replacing.
It really is actually a lubricant. I mean, to your joints,
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Right.
And also to the brain function.
Exactly. So there are all these different oils like gear oils and clutch oils and engine oils and so on. The same way fats do that thing, they help with rebuilding the arteries and all sorts of things and joints and cholesterol for the brain and all of that. But it's not the gas. You can't replace it. You can't replace carbs with fat. You destroy your
Right.
body. In the same way, you can't replace carbs with proteins are to rebuild your muscles.
Yeah, you go too heavy on the proteins and now you have gout.
Right, you have gout, or you have issues with your kidneys. There are people who literally died because they're so stupid. In the name of keto, they replaced uh they replaced carbs totally with fats.
It's unfortunate the miseducation that happens.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
So
So
I'm glad to also put simply things where I'm going to try to put where people can understand.
right.
If
So
you're in this situation where you have a kitchen, you just don't have food.
mhm,
Here's the help. If you're in this situation where you're not living in a house,
mhm,
say you're living in your car, this is where to find a place to heat things up and all that. Versus the churches also being aware, the churches, the giving agencies being
mhm,
aware that these are people who don't have a way to cook this. So you
mhm,
need to give them something that is pre-cooked or that is ready to cook, and you offer to cook it and they can take it home in an hour.
mhm.
And that way it will last them 2 to 3 days.
Right. And so it's very important people understand what is
They
carb,
shouldn't
what is
take,
fat,
if
what
a
is
person does not have a refrigerator or a stove, they shouldn't take a box full of food.
right, right, and
They should take as a pre-made meal that they can eat over the next couple of
right,
days.
and in the US, a lot of things are fortified with vitamins and minerals like orange juice, like milk, and so on. So you're getting your macros right for a couple of months. Your micronutrients will be balanced by these fortified food sources.
Right. Like, for instance, that's another adaptation that needs to happen in food giving is people need to realize give orange juice plus calcium because some people are lactose intolerant.
Hmm.
And also milk goes bad, but that frozen thing they can stick in the freezer or any freezer
Hmm.
of orange juice, that's going to last with the calcium more easily than is the milk.
Right.
And there are people I know who are lactose intolerant that milk would just kill them to get the calcium from. But
Hmm.
on the other hand,
Hmm.
having that orange juice with calcium added won't. And I mean, in the best case scenario, you'd be adding, well, there's this much calcium in spinach and there's this much calcium in, but that's where you get really complex. And that's where you're having your own stable kitchen in a stable home and in a stable
Hmm.
economic environment. So let's not try to dump that on people and make it chemistry and science class. Let's try to make it a little more simple.
Right. And so that's basically it, right? Understand what are your micronutrients, what are your macronutrients, focus on the macros. Micros will, if you're eating a lot of diverse foods, like
That's the point
not
right there.
just eating steak
Diversity.
every day, but
Yes.
eat different things, different veggies, different colors, like someday corn,
Different
someday carrot,
colors.
someday
Aim for different colors. That's a simple way to put it.
right,
Is are you eating some orange, some red, some green, some yellow?
purple.
Great.
right?
Yes. Well, the red I consider, yeah, the red and purple I kind of put together, but
Right.
because the beets they call them red beets, but they're purple.
Mm-hmm.
And then right, but and the purple cabbage versus the green cabbage, and
Right. Right. So
but
if
oh
you
my god.
are,
By the way, there are a lot of things people have not had, like by the way, golden beets.
mm-hmm.
Red beets, if you haven't
Right.
had them and just cooked them and just cleaned them and eaten them by themselves,
Also,
do not dismiss a vegetable because all you tasted it was canned and prefabricated.
mm-hmm.
Because beets have been the most nutritious, most fulfilling. Um, can I say, as a person who has been a meat eater, the most meaty, the most mame, satisfying and dense that I've had, other than nuts. And nuts are not the same. They don't have that same juiciness to them. They're
Mm-hmm.
very, they're
Dry.
dense, but they're also hard
Mm-hmm.
and dry.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm just saying, like the grilled cheese sandwich that you and I discussed that I
Mm-hmm.
made,
Mm-hmm.
where I put, and yours was with the little tomato, little cucumber, right? But I made a grilled cheese sandwich and I did the beets, like you said. And I did the golden beet and I did the potato and the sweet potato.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a double layered grilled cheese. Oh my God, that thing was so satisfying. Like you're eating one sandwich and you think you're going to eat a second one. Good luck. You're full.
Mm-hmm.
You're full.
Right.
Like you're full.
Right.
You're sleeping through the night full.
Exactly. And that's the thing. A lot of people run away from the roots, like beets, like
Mm.
sweet potatoes, like potatoes, right?
Because they don't have experience with them.
Like
The
radishes,
only
like
experience we get with sweet potatoes is Thanksgiving dinner,
mhm,
So sweet potato casserole is the only thing we know, and they don't have my sweet potato casserole, or they know.
right,
But they just add just the sweet potatoes whipped with some sugar, molasses,
right.
and that's it.
And
Right.
these roots are filled with vitamins and filled with
That's why they're prized.
minerals, with
That's
minerals,
why they're prized by Aboriginal peoples. Is
right?
those roots will get you through.
Exactly. Even something like potato chips is filled with nutrients. Anything your grandmother ate, your great grandmother ate, and that was rich in carb and fats, that is not ultra processed food.
I have to say, there was my grandmother Evelyn.
Hmm.
Her table
Hmm.
was covered with there were 18 to 30 items on this table.
Hmm.
There might be shredded carrots and raisin salad, and then there would be like a 5 bean salad with green beans and kidney beans and black beans, and then this little teeny white bean, and I don't know what, but it was good, right? And a seed in it.
Hmm.
Okay. And then there were 2 different breads. And by the way, bread didn't used to be fluffy and porous and squishy like it is.
Hmm.
Bread was dense,
Hmm.
and I mean, just a pride. Really, there was a pride that a woman had when they would have what was this little tray, a pickle tray.
Hmm.
I don't mean like dill pickles, snap, snap them, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like from the store. I mean, they would have pickled beans, pickled beets, they would have things that they had preserved so that
Exactly.
it grew out of the ground at this time. You picked it at this time, but 5 months later, you still had it. That was the
Exactly.
deal.
And
That was the deal. They were
and
maintaining that you could have this variety of things throughout the year to maintain your health.
right.
That's what it was about.
And that's something we can do. In fact, what it does is, because of the probiotics breaking things down, it's easier to digest. It has more nutrients. It has nutrients in it now developed, which were not in it to begin with. And
And
vitamins.
the ones that were originally there are more easily accessible, like when the bean, starts to sprout a little bit and open. So
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
So I mean, I remember going to my grandmother's table, and that there was this spread. There was not, don't put your arms on the table was not an order was necessary, because there was not room for your arms on the table.
Hmm.
That was food all the way around, and we would pick up the dish, and I would pass it to the right, and each person would take a scoop
Also, you know
and pass
why.
it to the right.
Also, you know where that rule came from. Because initially the tables were not attached. The tops of the tables were not attached. So if you put your elbow on one side, it would lift the other side up. It would flip the table.
Oh,
That's why you should.
really?
That's bad manners. You can't put your hands on the table because it will flip the table or it would raise one
Oh
side
my,
and create a
what?
slope. Yeah. In England, these tabletops were not attached to the base, so you can flip it, right? Also,
Oh,
you're
so
the
like the panels, like when they unfold the panels of a larger table, it was like that, but the panels were
it was
individual.
just
Okay.
one plywood on some base.
Oh, okay.
Not literally plywood, but thicker wood. But you
I
can
get you.
lift
I
it
get you.
if you're a big man, you
So
can.
you would be tipping things.
Right. That's why it's bad manners. This is your Jesus flipping the table. You most probably flip the top of the table, not the with the whole base. It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense.
He didn't squat down and lift the table like Hulk. It was just bam,
Ha!
just flipped the top of the table.
Amazing. Ah, these things.
Right. Because all tables were.
We're hoping to have and I'll check because I can't make it all happen myself
Mhm.
because I have my own things to deal with, and that's the way it tends to be. Is people who deal with their own stuff are the ones who are like, I want to do this, right? Other people are like, it'd be nice if somebody did this. There's somebody that put a post, and I'm not trying to vilify her at all, but she said, would somebody's family like to do this?
Mhm.
Would somebody's family like to run, this system to donate? So in other words, I had an idea and I have no willingness to participate in it whatsoever. Would somebody else like to do it?
Mhm.
Right. But, I'm willing to direct it, but I mean, I not only do I work, I have a child with special needs. I have a lot. I
Mhm.
have a lot.
Mhm.
But as that person, I also feel so compelled.
Right.
And so, I just hope that I said what we need is if I could please get a list of names. I won't give out any private information except to the person calling to ask them what they actually need and the
Mhm.
person delivering.
Mhm.
Other than that, that information remains private.
Right.
God willing, people do that because if they don't, then I can't do anything to move forward.
Mhm. Right.
So
You
it
know.
requires that people think in a different way
Mhm.
because what they want to do is say, I have a friend, help them. And that's all they would really have to do, but they would have to do it in my format.
Right.
And a lot of times people aren't willing to do that.
Right.
They don't
What
want to
I
think.
think? If we censor the names you said in the beginning, we could actually upload this video, not as video, but as an audio podcast. Because just listening to the discussion, it might help some people.
Hmm.
And it's a longer piece of content, from which we can pull out shorter pieces, and
Mm-hmm.
it also creates anticipation for the recipes we want to share, especially for babies that you were talking about, like I suggested mung beans.
How to transfer them from just formula, especially because if they're not breastfed,
Hmm.
or if moms are breastfeeding, they're going to need to change,
Hmm.
to make sure that the baby is full enough to sleep through the night. But if they're not breastfeeding and they're doing formula, there are so many ways to make sure that they get that bottle, that satisfaction, and aren't just having that taken away from them as some sort of trauma,
Hmm.
but that throughout the day, other than the maybe 2 bottles of drinking through the nipple, to give them that emotional attachment and that emotional satisfaction, that they are just training to one, the sippy cup, and two, food,
Hmm.
in ways that aren't harsh, that are like, woohoo, I want to get my hands into this, woohoo, I want to get this and gnaw on it and gum on it.
Right.
Um, you know,
And also.
and that they feel good. They feel, I
Mhm.
mean, I remember my children feeling so satisfied.
Right.
And I also remember that when I was, I tried sleep training
Hmm.
my firstborn.
Hmm.
It was horrible. It was horrible. And I said, this is not working. I don't know if it's this particular child, but I know that this is not working. And it wasn't that I was giving in. I was doing the thing the way I was supposed to. It wasn't that.
Right.
So what I did was instead, I gradually decreased the amount of actual milk that had been pumped versus water that had been added.
Right.
To the point where the child woke up and asked for the milk bottle and was given the milk bottle, but it had like 2 ounces of milk to 6 ounces of water. So the child literally went, this is not worth the effort for the calories, and set it aside and didn't take it, and then woke up a couple times and got a couple sips of water. So that also cleans the teeth and keeps them from rotting their teeth, right? But thusly, the child stopped waking up for milk in the middle of the night. This is when they're already capable of it, right? But instead of a traumatic power control competition thing, it was like, what am I waking up for? This is not worth it. So they chose to let it go very easily over a process of 4 weeks. That was very easy. And so if I can share that with people, and if I can share also the foods and what allergies to watch for, that a possible allergy does not mean don't use that food. It means use that food at a time that if you needed to, you could get help. But I mean, most of the main staple things that mothers intuitively and instinctively in the, bush will give their kids would be on the possible anaphylactic allergen list. So what you do is you don't introduce that food at 2 a.m. That's all. Introduce that food when you could easily go and get the child medical help if they needed it. Most children don't. They only need that help if they've never been exposed to things. That's how those allergies develop.
Exactly.
Actually. So, like one of my doctors was horrified because the first food I gave 2 of my children was mashed avocado. And avocado is notorious for anaphylactic shock allergies. Doesn't mean it's notorious as in children tend to be allergic to it. It's that the few that are, the allergic reaction is severe.
Right. The same with...
I lived within 8 minutes of the hospital, so I was like, we're headed. Okay. But what a relief, what a wonderful thing to just take an avocado, cut it in half, and score it with a fork and be like, here you go.
Yeah, I think research also shows that early exposure to peanuts stops the children from developing peanuts allergy.
From most, yes.
Again,
so the actual allergy is very rare. The other one is due to lack of exposure. Now, there are those who have the actual allergy.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's a genetic factor. I have no idea. But so if you do it during a time when you have ready access to intervention, that's the word, intervention, then you don't do that again if it doesn't work. Right? I mean, in all honesty, eggs are also a major anaphylactic shock risk for babies. And I'm sorry, but when I lived at the border of Texas and Mexico, I have not met a Mexican baby that was not given scrambled eggs. So, I mean, but they would say at the doctor, don't do that. But people are surviving, people are living, they're dealing with what they have. Right. And so it's all in how you handle it. And if you know better, then what you do is you make sure that you do it during the day, when your doctor's available.
Right.
Because that's convenient.
Right. And again, none of this is a medical advice.
No.
It's just, we're just sharing our experience.
Oh my goodness. I had 3 children born prematurely. One's not technically premature because they were only 3 weeks premature. So that's not technically diagnosably premature. But I mean, 3.5 months premature is premature. Premature. And I mean, I had one, if not two, born before the download from God on how to breathe in and exhale, chew, and swallow. So, that thing that we do, that thing that we all do where we go, that thing. I would have to like mimic it like that in front of them to help tell their body what to do. So yeah, no,
Yes.
I totally get that things aren't as simple as some people make it. And at the same time, we can turn these complications into taboos and to rules. And that doesn't make it any simpler.
Right, exactly. So coming back to the point is this is this is bad what's happening, people not
Yeah.
having access to food in the richest country in the world, and so and so called the greatest country in the world,
Yeah.
right? It is sad,
This
but
is this is this is this is my nation.
mhm,
And I just have to say that I heard about hypocrisy today that rent me. That was, oh, we want so badly to give this to you. Meanwhile, those benefits weren't just not uploaded. Those benefits were, even if they were sent and you already had them, you can't use them. If a state gave them to you, you can't use them. I had a friend test it. See, if you go and you use an EBT, a SNAP
mhm,
card, what it says is available balance this much.
right, even if it's
It
zero, it shows zero.
it says available balance $0. What it didn't say was available balance $0. What it said was balance not available. That's not the same thing.
Right, it
That
means the
says
system
it
is down.
can't read, it's not communicating
Mhm,
with the computer servers.
mhm.
So somebody flipped a switch so that not even an employee, a computer, it's not costing you anything. This is not that they don't have an employee they can't pay. This is not that.
Right,
They chose to do this. And then they said in public, we want so bad to give this to you.
right,
And I'm going to keep this really short. But I escaped abuse and with children, and one of the biggest things was, I want so badly to give this to you. If you would just do this my way, I'll give it to you.
right.
It is so manipulative. It is so horrific to me to hear someone say that. And I'm just saying that made me cry this morning, was to hear somebody say that kind of manipulation that was
Right,
so viscerally familiar to me. So
right.
I'm going to let that go and take a deep breath
And you
and
know,
just say that my response to that is to say, look, I've been through this. So here's how to best manage what you can get. Here's how to best use what you get.
mhm,
Here's how to best give.
right,
And that's how I can help.
right. And to me it's not just manipulation, because manipulation also implies that there was some equality between the two parties, there was some dynamic. This is extortion. To me, this is extortion.
It is exactly extortion. If it were a mafia, that's what we would call it,
Right.
right? And
This is extortion. This is what they're saying is, uh
we took control of this,
right,
pay us for protection.
right,
Yeah, that's the mob.
right. So what
And
what
if anybody's familiar with the mob, and I won't even name a name, if anybody's familiar with the mob, it's a person who has done business with them for every decade he's ever done business in his life.
right. And so it's not just that they took the system down. It's not just they took away benefits. They took the system down. You're right. They shut it down. They made the servers go offline, so you can't even check your snap balance. Even if the state government wants to give you the benefits, they can't, because your snap card
Which
won't
some
work.
have. Some
Right,
have.
right,
And then there was a local thing. There were agencies locally in different states that were trying to send things
right,
through different other cards, And I will check and I will find out, but some of those cards, who knows, because they are attached to things like Social Security, etc.,
Right.
which means someone could stop that from working too.
Right. And what I was saying is, it's not just they did it. The message they are sending is, Democrats, let us take away the health benefits, or will not even give these people food. That's the
And if you
message
give
they're
them the food, the health benefits are next, and then they'll go back for the food anyway.
right.
Like, am I an idiot? Like that? I mean, that's just like obvious.
Right. There was this black lady, I saw on the internet. She was very smart. She's like, you don't be chummy with the guy, the kid in the school who's been bullying you the whole fucking year and taking away your lunch.
So she had a little wisdom.
Right. She's like, you keep fighting, don't give in, Democrats. Don't give in,
Mm,
And
nice.
she's
I
like,
like
there
that.
is nothing, right? It's better to keep the door locked than to open it and be looted. Her words, not mine. I'll
I like
attach I'll
I like it
attach
because
right. I will attach that into this, and I'll also attach Governor Pritzker of Illinois saying that how they turned down the Snap servers, what he referred as the machines.
yes. And I don't know if you remember, there was a while back, I'll see if I can find it, but there was a woman saying, all of a sudden now you're talking about you don't want this and that, the pink tax and all that, but you haven't thought of that ever before. She spoke so well, and I don't remember the congresswoman's name, but I will look back and find it because, oh my God, she was like, oh, all of a sudden now you're interested, and I just found it fascinating
Right.
because right now the thing is that while saying, oh, there is so much care about what you're going through, the only desire is to give people who are so hungry what they need. There was a Great Gatsby style party this weekend on the very day that SNAP benefits were lost.
Right.
It was disgusting. It was
Right.
disgusting. It
Right.
was in your face hatred and disdain. It
It
was just horrible.
To me it was so. It looked so insane. It reminded me of, this is segregation, and it's not even
Yeah.
racial anymore. It is
Yeah,
economic.
no. My point was this. I have said this for generation.
It
I
is
have
economic.
said, like for literally multiple decades, so literally a generation, I have said that it's been made out to be racial.
I mean, it is racial, but it's also
There
economic.
are major racial issues.
Hmm.
But the racial issues are being used to disguise the real issue. And the
Hmm.
real issue is elitism.
Oligarchy.
And that elitism is somewhat, it's manipulatable into, sometimes it's economic and sometimes it's racial. It flexes to whichever way benefits the idea that I am not like you.
Right.
That is all it does.
Hmm.
And it's just, my own grandmother in the 1940s disagreed with that belief.
Right.
And I, my grandmother from Savannah, Georgia,
Right.
disagreed with that belief and was honored to be with not only Jimmy Carter, but with Martin Luther King Jr., but also with
Right.
with
Mandela.
from South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, when he came here,
Hmm.
and she had written her own paper in the early 80s.
Hmm.
And she talked about how people said racism was getting better. And it was by far, like there was a video I was watching today of a gentleman who was on the show All in the Family. The character's name was Archie Bunker. And a journalist had written about the lovable bigot. And he was saying, and I find that an interesting turn of phrase, like the lovable bigot. I don't think he's that. I think lovable's a weird word to use, because he wasn't a happy man. He was not living. Everything was sad to him. Everything was angry to him. He wasn't happy, you know. And so he had something to say 50 years ago that we seem to have lost sight of today.
Right.
And what my grandmother was saying in this paper that was probably about 50 years ago was that racism when she knew it, segregation
Mm-hmm.
when she knew it, which is, yes, racist. But it's different than the straightforward, these people are not people.
Mm-hmm.
She said was not as hateful as it had become.
Mm-hmm.
So it had progressed to more of a hatred.
Right.
And that's
I'll tell
something
you.
that,
I'll tell you
yes,
something that really happened after that. So after they said segregation is not right, and you have to open your pools,
right.
right? To black people, they literally shut down pools all over the, pretty much all over the country, because like, we will not swim, but we'll certainly not let these black people swim with us. Nobody swims,
So our kids don't swim.
right? And so
As
still,
long as that means that black people don't swim. Okay, that
exactly.
makes
And so you see this racial stereotype they have that black people can't swim. It comes from this racial history,
that is so absurd.
because they're not allowed in the pools. In fact, when the segregation was going on, they were given their own pools. They created their own pools.
Right.
People would come and throw acid in it. Sometimes, literally, when black people are swimming, people would throw acid in that water.
Oh,
By acid, I don't mean LSD.
acid.
I mean
Acid.
hydrochloric acid. I mean sulfuric acid. I mean nitric acid.
Burn
Literally
you.
burns your fucking skin off, like you're lit on fire.
See, that is not thinking of another person as a human being. Or how do you call yourself a Christian and a racist?
Right.
So I appreciate so much what I saw today, which was the very man who was considered the lovable bigot was saying, I'm playing a character, and that word lovable doesn't really fit.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a happy person. He's not functioning well, you know.
Right. What that the description of that character reminds me of this skit, the sketch, where Dave Chappelle plays a blind black person who is white supremacist,
Yes.
because nobody tells him he's black, and he's this hateful white supremacist, goes around giving um, all sorts of hateful speeches, dressed as KKK, and in the end, he divorces his wife. When he figures out he's black, he divorces his wife because hey, that woman is a black person lover. Now he didn't say in as decent language as I did,
No, right, right,
right?
right.
He
I
was
get you. I get
right. He
you.
was a black white supremacist, and it was hilarious sketch,
That's
but
yeah.
also shows also shows the thing you're talking about.
Yeah, no, he that comedian Dave Chappelle, he was so edgy that he literally like decided to go away and spend some time in seclusion because he was so edgy and he was suddenly making so much money that they were pushing him so hard that he had no idea what end up and right was.
Right,
And he was afraid to become a sellout,
right,
and he didn't know what sellout was anymore.
right,
It was too confusing. There were too many pressures.
right,
So like amazing that he did that,
right.
that
He's a
he gave
brilliant
up the
storyteller.
millions he gave up the millions of potential dollars
Hmm.
to not become a
Right,
hypocrite. So
right. Another person who who approaches comedy in his way is from, mentioning he was in Atlanta, I believe, is Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart uses very much the same storytelling, like Dave Chappelle, but of course he has his own personal style and his own personal flair. But it's worth mentioning that it's
yeah.
very similar.
Yeah, and he has some offenses publicly, but
Hmm.
in our today's world, it's like a checklist, like, oh, you've offended twice.
Hmm.
You know, comedy, politics, philosophy, all those things require the ability to make mistakes. Now, is that the same thing as consistent? No, it's not. But it requires the ability to make mistakes. You have to be able to scrape the edges
Right.
in order. Yeah. So I strongly believe in that.
I agree, and while we have this convicted felon as the president, how many of his offenses we have forgiven?
I know,
Um,
my goodness, like seriously.
I'm not saying people shouldn't
Mhm.
strive for perfection. People should, that's how we will
You
get
know
better.
that for me, I have a very difficult time with the fact that I literally escaped the
Hmm.
mentality
Hmm.
that we are now justifying. And I left a comment on one of your posts that I said, no American can ever again claim that they don't understand how a woman gets, or how a person, excuse me, gets trapped in an abusive relationship, an abusive marriage,
Hmm.
because you're in one now. So,
Hmm.
hey, why don't you call the police? Why don't you just leave? Why don't you, why did you fall into this? What were you doing that caused it? All those things that I've heard, because you can do all of those things and none of those things
Right.
cleanly end this situation.
Right.
It's complicated. It's complicated.
Right.
And this is literally an abusive marriage. We are contracted, we are
In
married
in
to
fact,
this leader who is literally that kind of a malicious abuser.
right, who doesn't even listen to court orders? I mean, I
Well,
believe
that I mean, what? What's the
three
difference then?
judges.
I'm saying the
Right.
same thing.
Right. Three judges, three federal judges has ordered them to release the SNAP benefits,
Mhm.
and then given two different funding options. So it's insane, and but what I was saying is it's not just a marriage. In this case, it's an arranged marriage. Like literally, your parents picked him up for you. You know, it's
Well, and
hilarious.
and and even when you get into these marriages, there are times when yes, there were the signs,
Hmm.
but the best ones, especially when they find what they call, and I've learned this, I didn't know this before, what they call prime supply.
Hmm.
In other words, a supply that you could beat down and they would never give up, because then that would be harming other people. So that resilient supply that's always going to come back and always going to sustain you, as long as you don't kill them, they will make sure everything's taken care of, because
Oh
they'll
yeah.
do that for the kids or for the family or for the righteousness of it or for the world or whatever, right? Um yeah,
Right.
that kind of thing is like that, in the sense that they will, people say, oh well, they'll hide it for a month or two. No, they'll hide it for 2 years. They'll hide it for 3 years, and
Absolutely.
they'll slowly introduce it. They'll test the boundaries. And that's, the thing that's crazy
That's
is the person
exactly
that we have right now, the person that we have right
exactly
now. I'm just saying that
that's
I
exactly what
lived in
this
New York,
administration is doing.
and I lived in New York. And
Mhm.
so I knew this person from things previous to when they knew to cover themselves,
Right.
and previous to when there was news that could be brought back from 10 years earlier, right? That wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing. a
Right.
clip from a clip from 20 years ago wasn't a thing,
Right.
and now it is. And it's crazy, because people are like, how do we not see this? Well, you weren't, I mean, they
You
didn't
weren't paying
they didn't
attention.
do that then. They didn't do that then. But those of us who lived in New York or in Connecticut or otherwise, and knew, and no one listened to us.
Right.
Sounds familiar?
Right.
And it
And
was reported to police and no one listened. It was reported to institutions that there was this racial issue going on, with the rentals. No one believed them. You know,
in fact,
they're
it was
tricksters.
not just that. It was so horrible that the Trump family is not allowed to hold a charity organization in the state of New York because they literally stole from cancer children's, the charities that were for cancer
Hmm.
for treatments for children. They're not allowed to run a charity
So
in the
how
state of
did
New
you
York.
think that was going to be okay?
How did you think this was a noble man and he's a messenger of God who's gonna change
And
America for good?
and his entire family hates him.
Right. Except his sons who are
Wait. So
making
they're
so much
not
money
good.
right now.
They're not good with New York. And the family that's not good in all of New York hates him.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right. I haven't seen Ivanka coming any close to Trump lately, if I'm not mistaken. Even his own daughter's running away from this mania.
Daughter said I'm leaving when it was January 6th. And
Oh,
she said I'm leaving.
right. And his own niece is, saying this guy is suffers from narcissistic personality, is a sociopath or something. Again, look it up. I'm not quoting it
And
perfectly.
those who are older are saying that the grandfather was a sociopath and this is how the relationship
From
went,
from
and
what
he
I
tried to win back.
Right. From what I heard is Trump's dad also made his fortune by running brothels, and not in the
Yes.
U.S., but wherever the U.S. was going out.
And the Coney Island, I
Mhm.
forget what it was called, the Coney Island draw. There was a special attraction there, and they tried to purchase the land, but the people wanted to fight and say no, it's a historical place. And so they went in and broke all the stained glass windows, so there was
Right.
nothing to certify as a historical place.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, this is just not.
So you're saying like father, like son during the Klondike Gold Rush. He
Mhm.
moved to his father, Trump's father, moved to Yukon and made his fortune by operating a restaurant and a brothel for the miners in Whitehorse.
So if I can't live in the glory of you and what I decorate you with, right? So I dress you up, and I can't parade you around and have it put glory on me, then I will destroy you
Mm-hmm.
and beat you and break you
Mm-hmm.
so that no one else can either, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of petty I am.
Right. That's the
That's
mindset. In fact, you know who dismantled Tesla's free energy project? One of the person involved was Trump's uncle, who was a professor at MIT.
oh my goodness. I did not know that. I would have thought one of the Bush granddaddies.
They were also the guy, the famous
Okay.
the one of the richest men in
Prescott?
America.
Prescott Bush?
No, no, no. Before that, before him.
Ah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're right. Prescott would be World War II.
I believe the guy who wrote Gospel of Wealth. The guy Carnegie, I believe.
Oh, Carnegie. Okay, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, he ended up being late attached to not Aldous Huxley, to
Anyway, so
satanic versus because that one of the Prescott Bush's wife ended up being a concubine to the satanic versus guy, the person that did all that, and so it overlaps,
right,
but
right,
it's kind of it's really dark and it's really
right,
crazy because of the way it overlaps.
right. So there's one of these early American oligarchs. I don't know. I don't remember. It was Carnegie.
Carnegie are one of the biggest, yeah.
Right.
And there's the Rockefellers, the
Right,
Carnegies,
right,
right?
right. So one of those, and he said, "Wait, you want to give free energy to people?" I don't know if it was successful or not. Whether it could have been successful or not. I'm not in that conspiracy theory that Tesla could actually have given people free electricity. All I'm
Mhm.
saying is this whole ambition he had was not just shut down, but then Trump's Uncle John was sent to destroy the whole thing, to leave no trace of his work, or not
Wow.
much.
Wow. Well,
So what I'm saying is what's happening is indeed horrible, and we can go look at history and look at the hints. Hindsight is 2020, but right now we have a crisis.
foresight is needed.
Right. But right
And I
now,
have some of that foresight. I mean, my my fears
hmm
that were combined with my situation of abuse and with um, the potentials that were very valid in, my economic situation,
right,
ended up protecting me, because when COVID hit, we were prepared. I had us prepared in case there were 6 months without any support. And that's literally what got us through the empty shelves of COVID with
right,
more comfort than people who didn't have our situation.
hmm
And I shared some advice with those people who had never dealt with the government before.
right,
And which is interesting, because it's not like I'm multi-generationally aware of this. There is not a single person before me in my generations that were on family, well, they were on like with government for college,
hmm
but it wasn't presented that way. It was a social worker that met with them. It wasn't presented as any sort of welfare, so they didn't
hmm
know what that was.
right.
um, and so that was something I understood and was able to share with them. And so I was able to share with people how to um, make adjustments and to plan ahead. And I think foresight is very important right now.
hmm
Planning ahead takes away the stress levels, and it's not slim pickings that harms your children. Absolute lack, yes. Slim pickings is not what is so stressful, it's fear. So making sure that people know how to use what they have and how to plan to have what they can use takes away the fear part. And that fear, like I said, is the dynamic that
hmm
is more harmful.
right. And so that's all I'm saying is, yes, we do have a crisis at hand, and we need to be able to deal with it on a bigger scale, whether it's the election in New York that's going on today, because it sends a big message. It doesn't do anything to take away power from Trump, but it
Mhm,
shows
mhm.
a crack. It's that first crack in the Berlin Wall. um, and and it also shows, and also other elections, like Prop 50, for example, because that will actually take away power from the Congress, from the Senate, so on, and bring it more in hands of the people who are democratically elected and who want to fight for the greater good and want to fight for a liberal government. And by liberal, I mean government that gives you rights and freedoms. That's what liberal means, right? Liberal, liberty, freedom, same roots, right? So the listeners here, if America itself is founded on the principles of liberalism,
Mhm.
the Declaration of Independence is the liberal. It's basically the book of Revelation. It's a chapter of chapter one of Revelation when it comes to liberalism. you know, um, I mean, of course, the people who wrote on it before that, but this was one concrete application where they put it in application, right? And so the Constitution is the Antifa handbook. If you need an Antifa handbook, you hate Antifa, you hate Constitution, because Antifa stands for anti-fascist. And when fascists come, they'll not call themselves fascists, they would say anti-fascist. Now, if anyone understands double negative, what it means is they're fascist, right?
Mhm.
So,
So anti-fascist.
right, anti-fascists are fascists. It's like saying anti-antiseptic, that's septic. Right? Antibiotic is just biotic.
I have to go. So
Right, no problem. Let's wrap it up. We have a crisis to handle, and hopefully, the work we're doing and the book, the PDF, and the recipes we will share with people will help them, and maybe also give some advice to people who are planning to run food banks or giving away foods or how to plant things and so on. So, on that note, we can hang up. Thank you for listening. Namaste. My name is Krupal, and you're listening to the TCV Happier Podcast. Subscribe to our podcast if you haven't already on your favorite podcasting app to get a new, insightful episode from us. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review us. This will help us improve and grow the show. TCV Happier is sponsored by The Creative Voice. With clients on 6 continents and team members on 4, TCV is one of the Atlanta's fastest growing branding, marketing, and design agency. A true value-based agency for the entrepreneurs, by the entrepreneurs. TCV Happier is hosted and written by Krupal Vitlani and Jen Sykes. To learn more about the podcast, you can visit us at www.tcv.agency/happier www.tcv.agency/HAPPIER happier. If you have any questions or want to be invited on the podcast, you can reach out to us on happier@tcv.agency, happier@tcv.agency. We read and respond to every email. Thank you for tuning.